Enforcing contractual obligations is paramount in maintaining a healthy business relationship and ensuring fair compensation for work completed. The first step is to remind the customer of the clearly stated payment terms outlined in the estimate. Emphasize that the rough-in phase has been completed, triggering the agreed-upon payment. Providing copies of the original estimate serves as a tangible reference point, reinforcing the contractual agreement. Communication is key to resolving disputes amicably. Schedule a meeting or a phone call to discuss the situation directly. Explain your position and the contractual obligations calmly and respectfully. Active listening to the customer's concerns can foster a collaborative environment to reach a mutually acceptable solution. Exploring alternative payment options can demonstrate goodwill and flexibility. If the customer is genuinely struggling financially, consider offering alternative arrangements. Payment plans structured over a reasonable time frame can ease the immediate financial burden. Progress payment schedules tying payments to specific milestones can provide reassurance and maintain project momentum. Any payment plan should be clearly documented in writing, agreed upon by both parties, and legally binding to prevent future misunderstandings. When communication and compromise fail to yield results, it may be necessary to consider legal options. Consulting with an attorney who specializes in construction law is crucial. An attorney can provide guidance on the legal avenues available, assess the strength of your case, and help you draft and file any necessary legal documents. Suspension of work is a viable strategy to protect your interests. If payment is not made as agreed, you may consider suspending further work on the project until the outstanding balance is resolved. This action should be communicated clearly and professionally, emphasizing that work will resume once payment is received. Filing a mechanic's lien is a legal tool available in many jurisdictions. A mechanic's lien places a claim on the property, securing your right to payment for the work you have performed. The specific requirements and procedures for filing a mechanic's lien vary by jurisdiction, so consulting with an attorney is essential. Publicizing non-payment is generally considered a last resort. While it may seem tempting to publicly shame the customer, it can potentially damage your company's reputation. It is generally advisable to exhaust all other options before considering this approach. Regarding inspections, even in areas where no license is required for homeowners to schedule inspections, it does not negate the customer's contractual obligation to make payment. If the customer schedules an inspection before payment is received, you have the right to attend the inspection and communicate your concerns to the inspector. Firstly, it's important to maintain detailed records of all communications, agreements, and work performed. Secondly, a well-drafted contract is the foundation of a strong business relationship. It should clearly outline the scope of work, payment terms, and dispute resolution mechanisms. Thirdly, proactive communication can prevent misunderstandings and build trust with customers. Fourthly, understanding your legal rights and options is crucial for protecting your business interests. Fifthly, seeking professional advice from attorneys and consultants can provide valuable insights and guidance. Now to further explain the complexities that could arise while trying to resolve a situation where a customer owes $3,500 after a rough-in is completed and is refusing to pay until after inspection. Let's look at a few potential scenarios. Suppose added electrical heat significantly altered the original scope of work. Was there a formal change order documenting the additional work and associated costs? Without a change order, it may be difficult to prove the customer agreed to the increased expense. Another scenario is to consider the inspection process. If the customer schedules the inspection independently and the work fails inspection, who bears the responsibility for the necessary corrections? The contract should ideally address the scenario, outlining the contractor's responsibility to rectify any code violations. Alternatively, consider what happens if the customer is genuinely dissatisfied with the quality of the rough-in. Is there a legitimate concern regarding the workmanship or compliance with electrical codes? An independent inspection might be a reasonable compromise to assess the quality of the work. Next, are there any specific clauses in the contract that address dispute resolution? Mediation or arbitration might be less costly and time-consuming alternatives to litigation. Additionally, explore the possibility of offering a discount or partial payment arrangement to incentivize the customer to fulfill her obligations. A bird in the hand is worth two in the bush, and receiving a portion of the payment is better than none at all. Suspending work can be a double-edged sword. While it protects you from incurring further expenses, it also delays the project and potentially exacerbates the dispute. Before suspending work, carefully consider the potential consequences. It's also important to consider the implications of filing a mechanic's lien. While it secures your claim against the property, it can also damage your relationship with the customer and potentially lead to further legal action. Therefore, consider documenting everything. Maintain meticulous records of all communication, including emails, phone calls, and meetings. This documentation can be crucial in the event of a legal dispute. Also, review your contract carefully to ensure it complies with all applicable state and local laws. An ambiguous or poorly drafted contract can weaken your position. Communicate clearly and professionally. Avoid emotional language or threats, as this can escalate the conflict. Consider mediation. A neutral third party can help facilitate a resolution. Seek legal advice. An attorney specializing in construction law can advise you on your rights and options. Consider the cost-benefit analysis of pursuing legal action. Litigation can be expensive and time-consuming, so weigh the potential benefits against the costs. Consider your reputation. Publicizing the dispute can damage your reputation, so consider the potential impact on your business. Finally, explore all possible avenues for resolving the dispute amicably before resorting to legal action. Litigation should be a last resort. Further considerations when dealing with a customer dispute of a payment for a completed rough-in when electrical heat has been added and they are stating they will not pay until the inspection is complete. It's important to understand the specific legal framework governing construction contracts and mechanics liens in your jurisdiction. Each state has its own unique laws and regulations that can significantly impact your rights and obligations. Review the terms of your contract closely to determine if it includes any provisions that address the situation at hand. Look for clauses related to change orders, payment schedules, dispute resolution, and termination of the contract. If the addition of electric heat was not properly documented with a written change order, it may be difficult to recover the additional costs associated with that work. A change order should clearly describe the scope of the additional work, the agreed upon price, and any adjustments to the project schedule. Communicate with the customer in a clear, professional, and respectful manner. Attempt to understand the customer's concerns and explain your position in a way that is easy for them to understand. Avoid using technical jargon or legal terminology that may confuse or intimidate the customer. Consider offering the customer a compromise or a payment plan to help them meet their financial obligations. This could involve reducing the amount owed, extending the payment deadline, or breaking the payments into smaller installments. Before taking any legal action, consult with an attorney who specializes in construction law. An attorney can advise you on your legal rights and obligations, help you assess the strength of your case, and represent you in court if necessary. If you are considering filing a mechanic's lien, be sure to comply with all of the applicable requirements of your state's lien law. This may involve providing the customer with a preliminary notice of lien rights, filing the lien within a specific time frame, and serving the customer with a copy of the lien. Suspending work on the project can be a risky decision. If you suspend work without a valid legal reason, you could be held liable for breach of contract. Before suspending work, consult with an attorney to determine if you have the legal right to do so. Consider the potential impact of the dispute on your company's reputation. A public dispute with a customer can damage your company's image and make it more difficult to attract new customers. Try to resolve the dispute in a way that minimizes the negative publicity. Explore alternative dispute resolution methods such as mediation or arbitration. These methods can often be less expensive and time-consuming than going to court. Be prepared to negotiate with the customer in order to reach a settlement. A settlement can save you time, money, and stress. Consider all of your options before making a decision on how to proceed. The best course of action will depend on the specific circumstances of your case. Maintaining detailed records of all communication and work performed can be critical in resolving disputes. These records can serve as evidence to support your claims. Also understand the customer's perspective. Attempt to see the situation from their point of view and understand their concerns. This can help you find a solution that is acceptable to both parties. When facing this type of dispute, consider these points. Firstly, ensure all verbal agreements are documented. Always follow up any verbal agreements with a written confirmation, such as an email or letter. This helps prevent misunderstandings and provides a clear record of what was agreed upon. Secondly, consider offering a discount or incentive for prompt payment. This might encourage the customer to pay more quickly and avoid further delays. Thirdly, explore options for financing the additional work. If the customer is struggling to afford the extra costs of the electric heat, explore options for financing the work through a third-party lender. This could help the customer manage the expense and ensure that you get paid. Fourthly, consider a phased approach to the work. If possible, break the project down into smaller phases, with payment due upon completion of each phase. This can help manage the customer's cash flow and reduce the risk of non-payment. Fifthly, be prepared to walk away if necessary. If you are unable to reach a reasonable agreement with the customer, be prepared to walk away from the project. This may be the best option to protect your financial interests and avoid further losses. Sixthly, obtain a signed completion certificate. Upon completion of the rough-in, have the customer sign a certificate acknowledging that the work has been completed to their satisfaction. This can provide valuable evidence in the event of a dispute. Seventhly, consider a pre-lien notice. In some states, you may be required to provide the customer with a pre-lien notice before filing a mechanic's lien. This notice informs the customer of your right to file a lien if you are not paid. Eighth, consider a payment bond. For larger projects, consider requiring the customer to obtain a payment bond. A payment bond guarantees that you will be paid for your work, even if the customer defaults. Ninth, seek advice from other contractors or industry professionals. Talk to other contractors or industry professionals who have experience with similar situations. They may be able to offer valuable advice and insights. 10th, consider the potential for a counterclaim. Be aware that the customer may file a counterclaim against you, alleging that your work was defective or that you breached the contract. Be prepared to defend yourself against any such claims. Furthermore, remember, prevention is better than cure. Proactive communication, clear contracts, and proper documentation can help prevent payment disputes from arising in the first place. Consider the following advice. 1. Clearly define the scope of work. The contract should clearly define the scope of work to be performed, including the specific tasks, materials, and equipment to be used. 2. Establish a payment schedule. The contract should establish a clear payment schedule, specifying when payments are due and the amount of each payment. 3. Obtain a deposit. Obtain a deposit from the customer before commencing work. This provides you with some financial security and demonstrates the customer's commitment to the project. 4. Conduct regular site inspections. Conduct regular site inspections to ensure that the work is being performed according to the contract. 5. Promptly address any concerns or complaints. Promptly address any concerns or complaints raised by the customer. This can help prevent misunderstandings and build trust. 6. Maintain a professional demeanor. Maintain a professional demeanor at all times when interacting with the customer. 7. Document all changes to the contract. Document all changes to the contract in writing and obtain the customer's signature. 8. Obtain insurance coverage. Obtain insurance coverage to protect yourself against liability for property damage or personal injury. 9. Understand your lien rights. Understand your lien rights and how to file a mechanic's lien if necessary. 10. Seek legal advice. Seek legal advice from an attorney specializing in construction law if you have any questions or concerns. Another aspect is to have a clause regarding costs and attorney's fees. Include a clause in your contract stating that the prevailing party in any dispute will be entitled to recover their costs and attorney's fees. This can deter the customer from pursuing frivolous claims. Remember to stay calm, professional, and focused on finding a resolution that is fair to both parties. The key is to attempt to find a solution to address the monetary issue.